Let's start with my salad, which if you've watched previous videos, you know I can't live without. I begin with the toppings, champignon and oyster mushrooms, which I either cut or tear into rough, bite-sized pieces. To these, I add firm tofu, cutting it into medium cubes, also bite-sized, or a little bigger if you prefer. I love croutons in my salad and I use whole spelt bread, but you can use any bread or, of course, gluten-free options. Next up, capers. We've got whole capers with the skin on, which I flatten with a knife and chop. I mix everything in a bowl with oregano, garlic, salt and olive oil, give it a little toss and then shake it well until everything is evenly coated. I transfer it all to a baking tray and bake in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius until the mushrooms brown, about 15 minutes. Just be careful not to burn the croutons. Now we start assembling the salad. I roughly chop some lettuce. I slice carrots thinly as well as cucumber. I added celery because I had a bunch in the fridge, but that was the day I officially stopped eating celery. It gave me a stomach ache until I fell asleep that night. I add crushed walnuts, goji berries and move on to making the dressing. But first I check on what's baking in the oven to ensure it's cooking evenly. So the first thing for the dressing, lemon and what's left of it, apple cider vinegar, olive oil and spices. And of course, I can't skip mustard and yogurt. For me, this is the perfect combination for any lettuce-based salad. I had slices of vegan cheese in a kashkaval style, and its strong flavor felt just right for the salad, along with artichokes, which add saltiness and richness. I mix some of the toppings with the dressing, then I like to add more toppings later, so some parts are wet and others stay a bit drier. I think that's the best way to describe it. I'm always so excited to eat it. It is so tangy and like lemony and yogurty, and it has everything, like the leaves, the fiber, the tofu, and the mushrooms, the pieces that are so juicy. The next recipe is made in one pot and is so rich in flavor, mostly sour. The ingredients are pretty simple. The only chopping required is for the zucchini, which I slice thinly and add to a pan with hot olive oil over medium-high heat. At the same time, I lightly fry a crushed pepper mix and stir it with the zucchini. I want it to soften. Then I add lemon zest, which, as you can see, I grate very professionally. I also add lemon juice, and you can adjust the amounts, but if you like sour, this is a great quantity in my opinion. Anyway, You'll find the exact amounts in the description below. I love the crunch and slight bitterness of walnuts, so I added them to the pan to soften a bit. After about 2 minutes of frying, I add the rice noodles and then I pour boiling water over them to cover about 1/3 of their height. After a few seconds, I press them down slightly to spread them out and touch more water. I cover for 2 minutes, uncover and press them again to separate them. To make them easier to eat and cook faster, I cut them. I stir and cover for another 2 to 3 minutes. I uncover, and if I see the noodles have softened, I can tell by their flexibility when I stir. I add vegan cream, stir and adjust the seasoning. Recently, I've been focusing more on quick and easy recipes. I think this is the most convenient way to maintain a healthy and balanced diet, as long as the meal is well planned and uses ingredients that support our bodies. I like to sprinkle vegan parmesan on top, but it's delicious even without it. These meals will take you up to 30 minutes, are delicious and suitable for all skill levels, from beginner cooks to pros. The next good thing is miso soup. I usually like to add fresh shiitake mushrooms to it, which I couldn't find this time, but I figured it's okay. It will even take less time, and honestly, it came out comforting and delicious even without them, and even without green onions. After cutting tofu into small medium cubes and chopping chives, I mix miso paste with boiling water. This will be the base for the soup. In a deep pot over medium heat, I warm sesame oil and add the tofu cubes. After a short fry, I add the base and boiling water. I stir and add spices. I cover for 5 minutes, stirring every minute, adding more water if I want to dilute it. Then I add soba noodles, which I broke in half, cover and cook for another 3 minutes. Afterward, I turn off the heat and coconut milk and chives, and that's it. It's ready. You have a hot, comforting, and super healthy bowl of miso soup. I filmed the last recipe because I wanted a light and quick lunch that would nourish me as much as possible. I went for a poke bowl. I used many readily available ingredients I usually have at home and really wanted tofu and edamame. I wanted them ready at the same time with as little prep as possible. For the sauce, I chopped some dill that I wanted to finish, but feel free to skip it if you don't have it or don't like the taste. The other ingredients are listed, of course, below the video. Once the tofu browned, I added the edamame. Back to the sauce, which is mostly tahini based, so of course I can't skip adding lemon. I shake it up and move on to the vegetables. I wanted the tofu to be slightly sweet, so I drizzle it with date syrup until it got its color and added a little crushed pepper. I peel carrot strips with a peeler and chop some spinach I had in the fridge. I usually like my poke bowl with quinoa, but these thin rice noodles cooked so quickly, just soak them for a minute in boiling water. I cut them to make them easier to eat. I add the stir-fried tofu and soybeans, and since we have a pizza night tonight, I made cashew mozzarella, which by the way turned out really well. There's still some work to be done on the flavor, but the texture is flawless.